Hi, welcome to this how to play review video where I'm having a chance to present to you my first experience from playing Oros, the latest board game from Lucky Duck Games. This is a brand new game that actually hits all the right spots for me at least. It has worker placement, tile placement, puzzle elements and very clever thinking and progression on your playmat and your let's say dynamic situation on the board. This is a game where there is a very dynamic, and I'm stressing the word dynamic, situation on the main board. Players are taking actions to manipulate how the land mass on the central area, you can see here, works. So you form land, you erupt volcanoes, you shift rows, you collide tiles, and you create opportunities, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to send your followers on the different mountains. You need to collide two 4-level tiles, land tiles, to create a mountain in order to build on top of those sacred sites and send your followers to study. So it sounds very straightforward. It is straightforward in terms of rules, but the game has so many opportunities and things to discover and try, because you start with limited options, so you can only move your followers one. You can always, you cannot move more than one space when you're shifting tiles and you're rotating them and things like that. And when you advance by gaining wisdom through various points and ways in the game, then what you do is you have the ability to upgrade, let's say, your actions on your playmat, and which is actually this one. So you move up on those ladders, giving you many more possibilities and advanced abilities for your main actions, and essentially creating a lot of different things for you to do and different opportunities to score more points. So very much impressed about the game. I already played several times solo. Have to mention that it's one of my favorite play counts. It plays very well with other players, player numbers like 2 or 3 or 4, but I also love the solo mode because you play versus 2 automas, and you have different automas, competitive, friendly, etc., and you can try different combinations, but they behave very clever, and it's like playing versus real players, trying to squeeze opportunities out and score victory points for them, and it gives, I would say, almost the same feeling like as if you're playing versus other players. So very much impressed about that. Join me at the table. I'll show you how the game works in practice. I'm going to explain all the rules. And I'm going to come back at the end of this video for some final opinion, some final thoughts, and some wrap-up about my first impressions from the game. Making note that I have already filmed and uploaded a full solo playthrough session, so you can see me playing solo versus the game, and that will give you a very nice understanding on how the game works and all its nice things that brings on the table for us. So let's see how the game plays in practice. Across an eternal expanse where sky and rock weave as one, the keeper of light and intelligence look and saw many ancestors with minds of stone and sand. Hear now what wisdom is. Those who follow call your own, assign and they will obey, form mountains and they will build, send and they will study. This few will make as I, full of luster, full of glory, go down and ascend. Welcome to this how to play video for Oros. Before moving into describing, explaining the rules actually, let's just focus on what we see in front of us. This is actually after my last solo playthrough where I was playing the demigod of Living Sun. So these two are the flip side of the player board because it's used in an automa. You always play versus 2 automa. This is the player side for the playmat, and this is the automa. You can play versus different type of aggressive, friendly or competitive automas. But before rushing into details, let's first familiarize ourselves with the components of the game and essentially also with the basic concepts. So what we see in front of us is the main map, which you see here. It's actually a very nice sturdy cardboard. It's a double-sided map. It has this side, which is recommended for 1 to 4 players, and also 4 players when they start playing the game. And there is the other side, on the flip side, which is larger because it has spaces also here, and also you have 2 arrows, which is recommended for 3 to 4 players as well. Now, let's see what we find also in the game. In the game there are 4 player mats, as I mentioned. You see 3 of them on the table as well already, and even though this may look on the first glance a bit overpopulated, it does make very good sense moving forward. So you'll see what I mean once I start explaining the game. This is a player mat in which everything is programmed, and you unlock abilities for your actions, and you also unlock scoring opportunities for the end as well. And this is on the flip side the automa for example the Raging Fire, the demigod of the Raging Fire. Speaking of demigods, in this game we are demigods, and we are trying to collide, move, slide and recreate land, pieces, volcanoes, and create opportunities, and then send our followers to build sacred sites and study on them in order to gain victory points. We have one ascension track, which is over here. You can see it here. Again, there are 2 sides here. I think the one on the back side, on the flip side, it is all the way up to 15, and this is all the way up to 21. So it depends on if you're playing your first play or if you want to play a longer game, etc., which is recommended to go on this side. Then there are also 4 demigod standees. I'm showing you here a couple of those, but these are really nice standees that you can use to track your ascension points, which essentially translate into victory points at the end of the game. But they have also included additionally some tokens, so you have token alternatives if you want to use tokens instead. In any case, they look really nice, and you can also have them either or for tracking on the ascension board. We have 72 land tiles. You see them scattered all around. I've used a lot of them during my play. There are piles that they don't have to go on these spots. I just squeeze them in for fitting everything in my screen ratio. But you have different types of terrain land tiles, which we're going to break down later. But just to mention and show you, as I've explained on the unboxing video, these are really nice and sturdy, thick cardboard tokens. Tiles, which actually is a great quality. There are 46 land, 10 mountain. These are the mountain ones, you see, that's a mountain one, and 16 islands, which are these ones over here. There are 48 volcanoes. These vary from level 1, which show the actual number of 1 on both sides. This is really nice, and they are the shorter ones. Then you move to level 2, also different color, level 3, and last but not least, level 4, which is this one. In addition, we have 32 followers, 8 per player. This is a typical look of a follower for the yellow player. And these are really nice, cute meeples. 8 in each of the colors, so yellow, green, blue, and orange. And you also have 32 wisdom caps, 8 per player. The wisdom caps are used to, as the word indicates, to show the cap of the players. So let me move this here. They start on the lowest level, so only the abilities above the actions are available. And through the course of the game, you progress them moving further up so that you can unlock additional enhanced versions of the abilities, so you can do more. Then there are 36 sacred tiles, 3 monolith, 3 shrine, and 3 temple per player. This is the single one, which is built on the very top, and it's gives more wisdom. This is a temple, the single one. This is the shrine, consisted of 2 squares. And last but not least, we have the monolith which is the one that goes initially, and then on top you have a shrine, and on top you have a temple, as you can see, for example, here. Meaning that this is built one on top of the other. There are also 24 foresight tokens that you have, 6 per player. These have the icons here of each of the demigods, but also they also have the logo on the back. But also they are numbered 1 to 3 so that you can track your 3 actions by sending, because you're going to do a lot of enhanced actions during the course of the game, saying that this is my first action, so I'm going to move this one to journey, for example, and then you can place my second action as a reminder to make sure that you are working correctly, and then let's say I'm doing this as a third action. So this is the purpose of those foresight tokens, and again, this is how they're used at the bottom of the action spaces. I'm going to go through the anatomy of those, so don't worry. We have a score pad. We have 48 automa cards, 1 deck per demigod, and this is really nice because each demigod, and this is used for the automa only, each demigod plays differently. They have their own cards. And also, I can already mention from my experience from the solo game, which there is also a solo playthrough that you can watch out and see how it plays. Really, really nice. It's geared towards low maintenance, so you play very easily the automa ones. So very nicely down there as well. There's 1 Jade Jaguar, which is for the last player marker. And there are also, in addition, there are the remaining 2nd, 3rd and 4th decks for the rest of the automa. So again, this is not how the game starts, this is just down the road, but I'm going to use it as an opportunity to show you some examples and explain the basic rules of the game. So without further ado, let's go through the map overview and see how the map looks like and how we break down the main board. Now, the map, even though populated, it's consisted of water and some spaces which are pre-printed. This map is a grid of vertical and horizontal rows representing a sphere of water, and each space on the map can hold a single land tile. These are land tiles, these are sacred tiles, so only a single land tile can go on a space on the board. We have the hotspots. Hotspots are easy to distinguish. There are 4, as you can see. This is a hotspot, 1 here, 1 there. You see the red border, 1 there, and 1 there on top. Okay, so these are areas that they're marked with a red square, and at the end of an action, if a hotspot has been uncovered, you cover it with a new island tile. So for example, if I've done some sliding or moving, etc., and I uncover this one, what I need to do is I need to take an island, and these are the islands which have a white circle without being filled in. So this is level 1 land, but this transparent circle shows an island, and it goes there. So they always, at the end of the turn, need to be populated with island tiles. We have the outer edges. The edges of the map connect one side with the other. As tiles shift or move off the map grid, they re-enter from the opposite side. So tiles on opposite sides of the map are considered adjacent and creating a bridge from one side to the other. That means that this one rotates and flips, actually rotates. It's considered adjacent because it loops, let me use this word better, to this one. And also, if I'm doing some movement, let's say I want to move this one off the map, then it will re-enter from this side. For example, when I do some pushing or sliding, etc. The same goes vertically. But those two are considered adjacent. We have the corner arrows, and in this side we have just 1 corner arrow per corner. 1, 2, 3, 4. On the opposite side we have 2 corner arrows per corner. White arrows at the corners of the map adjoin the outer rows, creating a connected ring. Tiles on the map grid connected by arrows are also considered adjacent, and use these arrows to guide tiles back onto the map grid when they move or shift around corners. That means that this one is adjacent with that one. We also have map regions for the automa. The four map regions A, B, C, and D, you can see that, for example, B is here and starts B1, B2, B3, B4, B5, B6, B7, B8, B9. So we have B, A, B, C, and D, and in the square 3x3 in the middle, two letters can coexist, like B9 with C7, for example. Okay, so C is those 9 here, B those 9 here, D and A respectively. Now what's important here to notice that these are only used in the automa because, as you'll see, for example, quickly to show you, when you're playing the automa deck, this designates the B area and you start with the lowest number always. So B1 is this one. Then if this cannot be applied here, you go to B2 if you're looking for an unoccupied land map space, for example. Then the term row refers to horizontal rows, vertical rows, and connected outer rings created by the corner arrow. So row is also this one, connected by the arrow. Now let's talk about the land tiles. Land tiles are a shared resource representing land masses that physically move around the map. They're numbered 1, 2, 3, or 4 based on the mass and number of land edges. So this is a level 1. It has only one land edge, so only the bottom one. So it's a 1. Then you have level 2, which has 2 land edges. You also have them on a, let me show you, on this configuration where those land edges are opposite, not by the corner like these ones, but they're opposite, okay? Then you also have the level 3, which has, as you guessed, 3 sides, edges of land and only one with C. And last but not least, we have the level 4, which is all sides around it land. So this is a 4-level land tile. We also have the mountain tiles. This is a mountain tile. You can see it because it has the corresponding art, but it also has a mountain icon in the center. Unlike other tiles, these cannot move once formed. Mountains are the only tiles that the players are allowed to build sacred sites. So these sacred sites, which is a vital part of gaining points, can only be built on mountains. Okay, and these typically cannot be moved, slided, or shifted only if you have special abilities, because the rest you can move, slide, and shift respectively. There is an advanced variant. Hotspot island tiles are marked with a red ring. So they can be found at the back of some of the island tiles. So these are, let's see, for example, here on the back of some of the island tiles are with a red ring, so that you can use the advanced tile variant. Players can select and place them on the map just any other island tile, and this provides movable hotspots which yield more volcanoes during the gameplay, and you can use this variant as an additional way to play the game. Now, let's see the player mat overview. This is a player mat. The player mat is used to manage your actions, abilities, wisdom, and endgame knowledge points, KP. We have followers, which are used as workers to take actions on the play mat, study, journey around the map, and build sacred sites. These are our followers. Again, matching the color of each player. Very nice. We have the wisdom caps, rest on the dotted lines between abilities and track which abilities can be unlocked. They all start at the bottom one here. So when you do the journey action, you can only move one. But if you have unlocked this, let's say moved it up, when you do the journey action, you can move 3, which is nice. So they enhance your possibilities, and they can also give you victory points or ascension if you move them all the way up. They always sit at the dotted lines. They start on the yellow ones. All of those, both those and the ones on the right, and they progress always on the next dotted line space when you gain wisdom points. There are player aids that you see here. First of all, we don't start with all of those. We start with only a handful of followers, and we need to unlock those extra 3 ones. So they're starting off the map and off your grasp over there. But let's move them here for the moment so I can show you the the play rate. These symbols remind the player some starting rules. Each player is allowed one follower or fewer on the map, as you can see here, or maybe you can also see it here easier. Then you have this one, 4 plus 4 gives a mountain. That means to form a mountain, a player must collide two level 4 tiles together. Once formed, the mountain cannot be shifted or moved. Then you have additional victory points when you gain per follower if you have unlocked those. So they start with the 3 extra ones. Start here on the game. Start. And then we have the action spaces. These are the action spaces that you see at the bottom. The 6 white spaces at the bottom of your player mat are the actions you can take each turn. An action space with a follower on it is occupied, and an action space with no follower on it is unoccupied. So, for example, let me show you on the correct player. This is an occupied, and I cannot have this action until I take another action and then move it back to take the same action again. So 1, 2, 3, 4 unoccupied, 1, 2 occupied. We have ability columns. You see here, these are ability columns that I mentioned before. The columns above each action space show the abilities for that action. These abilities define the extent of an action, permanently enhancing it, moving the possibilities you have for this action and giving you more options. Provide immediate rewards or unlock endgame points. And only abilities below the wisdom cap in a column are available to use when performing that action. And we're going to say more about the abilities, but let's focus on the wrapped action. This, and that ability is available, and because I have the cap here, but this and that are still to be unlocked. We have the study area. This is a study area here. Up to 2 followers can study in the sacred presence of your demigod, but you can also send, and it's more favorable to send followers to study on sacred tiles, or your sacred sites on tiles, because then when other players build a sacred site while you're studying, you gain 1 wisdom. You have horizon lines. Each arrow indicates 1 horizon line running across the ability columns, and a horizon is unlocked when all the wisdom caps of the first 5 columns rise to or above the indicated horizon line. That means that for me to gain this follower, I need to reach that, and those 5 first columns caps, at least up to here, and then I unlock it. So let's say at the moment I would be like that, but if I wanted to gain access to my last follower, I must have moved this one here, and then I can have this follower available. Knowledge points are indicated by a circle and laurel and are used at end game scoring. So this you gain at end game scoring if you manage to get your cap so that you can claim them. So let's again, let me show you how you set up the map actually. It's described very carefully and very nicely in the rulebook. So this is a central map. It's recommended for first time players. I'm not going to go through the details because it's very nicely described here, but just to give you an idea, this is used for 1 to 4 games, and it's recommended for the first player that you have. You form by placing tiles of level 2, 3 and 4 the central island. Then you place on its side a level 3, a level 1, and then an island on one of the hotspots. And you do the same like that. And on the islands you place 1 volcano level 2. This is these tokens, okay, which they can erupt and create land masses. And then you also place those 4 level 2 with the opposite land edges on those 4 corners, and then you're ready to start. If you're playing again for 3 or 4 player, you have a larger area, so you see more tiles to be placed, but keep in mind that the solo Toma is only played from this side, which makes sense. Now again, player mats. So what we do for setup, because now we're talking about setup, of course, the first thing that we do is we start by getting all the caps on the lowest level here. You keep your tokens nearby. You place your 3 non-accessible followers here, and you need to unlock them. These need to be on all the lowest level. Then you place 1 follower on the journey and 1 follower on the build the sacred site. Okay, and then you have 3 followers that are close to you, next to your play area, and these are the ones that you're going to be using when you start your first turn. It's also recommended then that you sort out the land tiles by pile, so islands, level 1, level 2, level 3 and level 4 like as I have done, and keep the volcanoes nearby in piles so that you can use them easily. Last but not least, you get your ascension board. You place the map showing the 1 to 4 player side, or for a longer play you place this side, or for a shorter one this side, and then you place either your standee or your demigod token on the bottom on the stone pathway here, and then once you start gaining ascension points you move like that. Now you also choose a first player and you give them the first player token, which is this one, and it has 2 sides because it also has a game variant with this one, but other than that you're ready to start. Now, if you're playing solo or 2 player, when playing solo or 2 player game, you must use an artificial player or an automa to bring the player count up to at least 3 players. You can choose to play with more if you like. Automa can be used on the small map only, so this side. And when playing solo, you choose at least 2 automas to play against, but when you play 2-player game, you choose at least 1 automa to play against. So 3 needs to be in any game minimum. So to set up an automa, very simple. You just take the actual deck of the automa that you have selected, and keep in mind this is a competitive automa, but for example the Great Water on the flip side is a friendly automa. Okay, so what you do is you take the cards, you give them a good shuffle, and once you do that you place them on this side of the board. Then you take all the cups. Actually you take 6 of them. The rest you return to the box, and you start here. Also you sort out your sacred tiles. You have 3 of shrine, 3 of monolith, 3 of shrine and 3 of temple, and you take your meeples or followers, and you have a total of 3, 6, 8 of them, like any player count, and you place them next to your board or to the right, doesn't matter, whatever it's convenient for you. These will be the followers of the automa that they can use to play the game. Now, if you choose the demigod of the Great Waters, is an easy and friendly automa. If you choose the intermediate competitive automa, then you need to choose the demigod of the Fertile Land. If you choose the demigod of the Living Sun, which is actually this purple one, which I have as a player selection mat, it's a challenging one, and if you want extreme difficulty, you play against the demigod of the Raging Fire, which is this one, and it's the most difficult one. So mix and match so that you can have a special level of difficulty based on what you want to do. And the most frequently asked question is if you can play 2-player without an automa. No, you need to play with 2 players, 2 physical players, and then at least one automa. So mixing one of the 4 one of the rest ones so that you can select, but you need to have always 3 mats. In this case it will be 2 players and 1 flipped on the automa side. So let's see the game overview. As we said, you use the wisdom of the demigods. You are a demigod sent from the wise one to the 4 corners of the earth to bring higher knowledge, and the wisdom of the mountains in order to for the people that are scattered on the islands to get your followers to build sacred sites and worship The objective of the game: you gain the most knowledge points by directing your followers to build sacred sites on mountains, develop greater abilities, and improve the value of your sacred sites. To do this, the players take turns performing actions to adjust the map for mountains, get followers on the mountains, and build sacred sites. Building sacred sites allows players to advance up on the ascension track and gain wisdom. The game end. The game end triggers when a player ascends to the topmost space of the ascension track, all the way to the top. And then all players, they finish their current round, and all players tally their knowledge points to see who has the highest total sum and win the game. Scoring knowledge points. The wisdom of the mountains is measured using knowledge points, which are calculated at the end of the game. Players gain knowledge from their position on the ascension track, the final position. Secondly, from the unlocked abilities, and thirdly, from the followers in study, and fourth, by building sacred sites. So, the player with the greatest knowledge wins the game. So playing the game. The game is played in rounds with players taking their turn one at a time. Starting with the first player, turns proceed in clockwise order. On your turn, you may take up to 3 actions. To take an action, you assign one follower to an unoccupied action space on your player mat, then perform that action. And when performing an action, you can use any ability below the wisdom cap of the column for that action. On your turn, you start with 3 unassigned followers which must be used to take these actions. This is for the first turn specifically, how it flows. You assign your first follower to any unoccupied island. Again, this is not the setup, just as I left it from my previous solo playthrough, but you're going to have islands during setup, and during the first step of my first turn, I place one of my followers from the 3 available to any unoccupied island on the map. This is my starting location, and if there are no unoccupied island tiles, I place my follower to an unoccupied 1 tile. It's important that each player is only allowed 1 follower on the map until they have the ability to send more unlocked, which will be done, of course, once this cap moves here. Then they can have up to 3, or if it goes there, they can have any number of followers on the map. As an action number 2, you assign your second follower to any unoccupied action space on the map, and you perform that action. That means from my this would be the one that I'm taking and placing on an island is from the 30 ones I have. The second one, I assign it to either of those unoccupied spaces and take that action. I'm going to explain actions later, and then I do the same for the third one. As a hint, islands are surrounded by water, so the only way to get off your starting island, which is this one, you need to start colliding it to another land tile or erupting a volcano to create a land edge. On your next turns, you take up to 3 actions again, and to take an action, you assign one follower to which is currently on one of the spaces already occupied, to an unoccupied action space. So I can either take this one and do that one, or I can take that one and do this one, but I need to take it from an unoccupied space and then move it to an unoccupied space and take that action. You're allowed to assign followers to an action space and not take the action. However, it will count as one of your 3 actions. The action space you move from is important as the action space you move to. Failure to plan ahead could limit your ability to get the most out of your next action, so you need to plan carefully. And also what you can do is you can move here, perform one action, then move here, perform your second action, and then move here, perform a third action. Nothing obstructs you from doing so. Keep in mind that you have the foresight tokens, these 6 tokens, which are these ones here, which are numbered, the 3 of them, 1, 2, 3, and the other 3 are non-numbered. These 6 tokens are an optional player aid. These 3 numbers can be used to track your 3 actions in each turn, and to use them you place the 6 tokens below the 6 action spaces on your player mat with the symbol side facing up. Picking under the token and rearranging them to mark the order on your next 3 actions. So you can also plan ahead with those like that or like that before other players take their turn, and it's back to you. Wisdom. Each column on the player mat has a wisdom cap. used to track which abilities have been unlocked for that column. Any ability below the wisdom cap is available to use when performing an action, and some abilities change the nature of an action, and once unlocked, these abilities are always in effect. How you gain wisdom? Gaining wisdom is how you raise the wisdom caps in each column. When you gain wisdom, you raise the wisdom caps or cap of your choice by 1 space for each wisdom gained. So let's say I want 3 wisdom, I can do 1, 2, and then 3, up to me. How you gain wisdom? You gain wisdom in any of the following ways. 1, return followers from a study. You gain 1 wisdom for each return follower. You can have followers studying either on your own player mat, and you return them to any space. We're going to explain the action. Or on one of your sacred tiles, like so, and then you return them again the same way. For each of the followers returned, you gain 1 wisdom. By building a sacred site, gaining 1 wisdom for a monolith, 1 wisdom, 2 wisdom for a shrine, so 1 wisdom for a monolith, 2 wisdom if you build a shrine, which is the 2 spaces, 2 squares, and 1 wisdom for a monolith, which is this one, the one that goes on the bottom. Then 2 wisdom if you build a shrine, and 1 wisdom if you build a temple. 3 wisdom if you build a temple. So the most precise one is the temple, which gives 3 wisdom. And I think this is tracked, yes, it's tracked also here, so you don't need to remember it. So it shows how you ascend, how much you ascend on the ascension board, and how much wisdom you gain for monolith, shrine, and temple, respectively. Okay, so now let's see the actions. We have the shift all tiles in a row. This is the action, which is the first on the bottom of your play mat. The shift action allows you to shift all land tiles among a single row of a map, vertical or horizontal, and when doing so, all tiles shift together along the row in the same direction, keeping the same spacing between tiles. Since everything shifts together, a shift action will never collide tiles, and it's important that shift actions cannot shift rows that have mountains in them unless the ability has been so unlocked. So let's focus, for example, on this row, and let's say we have a gap here. So if I'm shifting by 1, let's say, because it's my basic shift, I shift by 1 unless I have upgraded to shift by 2, 3, or even shift mountain within the row or column. So let's say I want to shift all those tiles like that to create opportunities. You'll see later what do I mean. Let me shift by 1. That means that this will go there and come here. This will go 1, 1, 1, 1, and this is placed here. So everything shifts together with the spaces as it was by 1, or by 2 if I have the ability to shift by 2, by either a row or a column. So when you're shifting tiles of the map, the land tiles that shift off map re-enter on the opposite side. The outermost row is a connected ring. When shifting tiles on the outer row, the entire row of tiles shifts like a wheel turning. So if, for example, I'm shifting those by 1, those are going to move. So this is going to go there, this is going to go there, everything is going to move like a wheel. If a shift action is used to shift the outer row, all tiles around the map that are part of that connected row shift together. Now, let's see the action improvements, which are above the action. This is the one. Ability 1, shift all tiles by 1 row or space. I remind you that we start like that, so we can only shift by 1. Unless we upgrade, we move them up. If I have unlocked this one, I shift all tiles in 1 row 2 spaces. All tiles in 1 row 3 spaces. If I have reached here, I may shift rows with mountain tiles during a shift action, otherwise I cannot. If I reach here, I gain 3 knowledge points at game end, and if I moved here, I gain 7 knowledge points at game end and may ascend 1 space up the ascension track after performing any shift action. By doing this action, if I'm all the way up, I'm going to get 7 points at the end of the game, but also ascend 1 on the ascension board. Next action is move a tile set 1 space. So the move action allows you to move a set of adjacent land tiles exactly one space. The set must match the amount and formation shown in the ability. Open water areas do not count as land tiles, and it's important to notice a move action can never move mountain tiles. Colliding land tiles. When a move action causes two land tiles to occupy the same space, the tiles collide to perform and become a better land tile. To collide land tiles, add the value of the tiles together and replace the tiles with a new tile of the combined value. If the value is greater than 4, replace the original tiles with a 4 tile. Then place a volcano with a level equal to the amount remaining, and when placing a tile, the active player decides which tile to use and its orientation. So, for example, let's say I have, if I'm all the way here, I need to move a set of 3 adjacent tiles. If I moved here a set of 2, and if I have upgraded here even a single one. So let's say I have upgraded all the way up here, so I can do a single one, so I can show you how it works. So for example, if I am like that, okay, if I collide, let's say I'm like that. If I move, since I have unlocked this one, I can move also one set of 1 tile, even diagonally, etc. So I'm moving here, so I'm colliding one with one, so that happens is I'm removing the ones and I'm replacing them with a combined value of 2, and I can select orientation. So very simple. When you collide here, for example, 2 with 3, let's say I'm colliding a 2 and a 3, let me show you, by moving this one here or that one here, then they collide and they create a land value of 4, and there is 1 remaining because 3 plus 2 equals 5. So for the remaining one, I add a volcano, which has inside of it 1 land mass tile. When I'm colliding 2 4 ones, I'm creating a mountain, and this is the only way to create a mountain. So when I'm colliding a 4 with a 4, by moving this one here, for example, then I create a mountain. So let me take this one off the map. Then a mountain is created on its place by colliding 2 4 values. If one of the 4 values had, when colliding, a mountain there, a volcano, a 1, level 1 or level 2, let's put a level 4, when those collide, they will create a mountain, this one, which will also have the volcano on it. Mountains are formed when 2 4 tiles collide, and this is the only way mountain tiles are formed and added on the map, by taking them from the supply. When land tiles with volcanoes collide, first add together the land tiles and then replace them with a new tile, and then add together the volcanoes and the remaining from the land tile collision and replace them with a new volcano. Once a volcano reaches a level 4, you begin a new volcano on the same tile, and there is no limit on the number of volcanoes that you can have on a single tile. Okay? So for example, if 2 level 4s collide and they both have volcanoes, we will create a mountain and they will combine the volcanoes. Finally, all followers on colliding land tiles are moved into the new tile. This is the only way a follower can get onto a tile that is already occupied. That means that I cannot get into a tile where someone and stay on a tile where another follower is, unless 2 tiles, which each of them consists of has 1 follower on them, collide, and then they will move on the same tile. Moving tile sets. When using a move action, the tile set moves as a single landmass in the same direction at the same time, regardless of how tiles are connected. Only when a tile lands on an arrow will it change course. In some cases, a set of adjacent tiles could move and end up colliding with each other, or end up disconnected or opposite sides of the map because they moved across arrows. The diagonal tile movement is unlocked, as I mentioned, only when you have reached this way up, so you can move also diagonally. And then you can use also diagonal tile movement, which unlocks access to the outer areas of the map, in many powerful ways, and once unlocked you can move a single tile diagonally. If the tile moves diagonally of the map, they have many re-entering options. For example, let me show you actually the rulebook is fantastic, but let me show you the example here. So when this tile moves diagonally like that, they can re-enter either here, but they cannot re-enter here. But if they move from A diagonally down, they can re-enter either here or here. So you have a lot of options, and this is important. Again, improvement of those. You have the ability to move a set of 3 adjacent land tiles one space orthogonally, so that you need to be 3 of them adjacent. You cannot have water in one of the 3. Ability to move a set of 2 adjacent land tiles one space orthogonally. Ability 3, move a single land tile one space orthogonally or diagonally. Ability 4, may use 3 tiles as if they were 4 tiles when forming mountains, to collide them and form mountains. Ability 5 just gives you 3 knowledge points at game end, and ability 6 gives you 7 knowledge points at game end, and you may ascend one space on the ascension track after performing a move action. Next action is erupt or form volcanoes. The volcano action allows you to do one of the 2 things: erupt a volcano or form a volcano. Volcano pieces are pent up land waiting to be spilled out across the map. There are 4 levels of volcanoes, 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 4, and they have different pieces with different colors and the number of the landmass built up in the volcano printed on the volcano token itself. Important: volcanoes do not form mountains. Erupting a volcano or colliding tiles with volcanoes will not form a mountain in any case. You need to collide 2 4-1s to make a mountain. Erupt a volcano. So basically, this one means that it has inside of it a land 2 mass tile. So it's as if it has something like that inside of it. Okay, you'll see how it works when it erupts and throws out lava to create land. Erupt a volcano. Erupt one volcano per eruption symbol shown. Each volcano piece is an individual volcano which will erupt land equal to its level. Land erupted from a volcano is placed onto the map as land tiles, and once erupted, volcano pieces are moved from the map. When eruption a volcano happens, lava flows down and then out. If a volcano erupts from a tile with water edges, the lava will first fill in that tile before flowing outwards on the map. Once the tile becomes a 4, then the active player decides the direction or directions the remaining units of the lava will flow. When flowing outward, lava must completely fill each land tile on open water space to create a 4-level tile before flowing to the next space, respectively. And volcanoes erupt in a straight line orthogonally from the point of eruption. If desired, an eruption can be divided to flow in more than one direction. Lava cannot change course to zigzag around the map until the ability to do so is unlocked, and land tiles placed from an eruption must orient to connect land edge back to the point of eruption. Finally, volcanoes can erupt down from mountains, but lava cannot flow up over mountains. If a volcano becomes surrounded by mountain tiles, that volcano is considered inactive and cannot erupt until it is no longer surrounded. Volcanoes erupt individually. Eruption of a volcano does not erupt other volcanoes on the same tile. So, let's focus, for example, let's focus on this one. That means that we have this level 1 tile with a 4 volcano on, and when we decide to erupt it, then we first fill in this tile, so it becomes 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1, so 3 out of the 4 volcano will fill up this land to make it a 4-1, and you have also 1 value remaining, which you decide if it flows from that direction, that direction, or that direction. If it flows from that direction, then you take and you place one, let's say 1 level. If it flows from that direction, you fill in this one, and the 1 becomes a 2-1, and you orientate it as you want. Okay, so this is how volcanoes erupt. And you can also decide to split, let's say, the power of the eruption. Let's say I have this and that here, and let's say this is a 2 level, and I have a 4 level volcano. If it erupts, first of all, it will fill in this land, make it a 4, and there are 2 values remaining. You can have one pudding here to create one mass of 1 here, and the other one maybe from that direction. But you cannot continue in a straight, you can also continue in the straight line. So for example, if you're putting in this direction, you need to fill in one line, but you cannot make zigzag until you unlock the ability to do so. Again, the action, you see, it says erupt or form volcanoes. If you form a volcano, you add a level 3 volcano on any tile on the map, and if the tile already has a volcano, first you continue increasing the level of that existing volcano until it reaches level 4, and then begin a new volcano with the remainder. There is no limit on the number of volcanoes that you can form on a tile. So let's say I decide to form a level 3, it's always a level 3 volcano. I form it on this tile here, because I can use it later for my strategy. The action improvements. The ability 1, which we start with, is this one. You can either erupt one volcano on the map or add a level 3 volcano to any tile. Ability 2 allows you to erupt 2 volcanoes on the map. Ability 3 to erupt 3 volcanoes on the map. Ability 4, an eruption may flow across the land edges of any 1, 2, and 3 tile without filling it, and may change course to zigzag across the map. Ability 5, you gain 3 knowledge points at game end, and ability 6, you gain 7 knowledge points at game end, and you may ascend 1 space up the ascension track after performing the volcano action every time you do that. Next action is send to or return from study. The study action allows you to do one of the 2 things: either send one follower to an unoccupied study space or return followers from the study. How you send to study? Followers can study on the player's mat. You have also 2 positions always on your demigod play mat, so you can, if they're free, you can send them there. In the topmost area of your play mat, you have 2 followers positions. Each sacred site also built on the map also creates 1 space for you to send one of your followers to study there. So another way is to build more sacred sites, so you have more spaces to send your followers for studying. When sending a follower to study, you choose a follower from any action space other than the study action itself. So when I click here, let's say I click send here to send or return from space, I cannot send the same one. I need to select either this one, or that one to do so. Okay? And what you do then is you place that follower on any unoccupied study space on your player mat. For example, I take it from the action and you either place it here or on one of my sacred sites on anywhere on the map which are vacant and can receive. Just to show you up close, so this is a sacred site of mine. It has the same like my player mat symbol to receive a follower for studying. Important, you gain 1 wisdom each time another player builds a sacred site on a mountain when you have a follower studying. So if this player comes here and they want to build a sacred site, they're going to build one, and then I'm going to gain 1 wisdom myself. Or you return from study. We said you send to study or you return from study. When followers return from study, they bring wisdom with them, which is immediately used to improve your abilities. You may return up to 2 followers with a single study action. To return a follower from study, select a follower currently on your playmat study space or your sacred sites and reassign it to an unoccupied action space without performing the action, and gain 1 wisdom for each follower that returns from study. So let's say I have this one studying plus that one. Then if I take that action, send or return from study, and I do the return from study, what I do then is I take those 2, up to 2, okay, and I return them to action spaces on my playmat. And I return 2, so I gain 1 wisdom for each. That means I can either take 1, 2, or I can split it, and let's say take 1 here and 1 here to unlock abilities. Speaking for abilities, let's see them how they work for the study column. You start with this one, ability 1, either send one follower to study or return up to 2 followers from study to gain 1 wisdom for each follower returned. Ability 2, you may have up to 3 followers on the map, because remember we start only with 1. In order to get more, we need to unlock this level. Ability 3, may have any number of followers on the map. Ability 4, may return up to 3 followers from study, gaining 1 wisdom for each. Ability 5, gain 3 knowledge points, and ability 6, gain 7 knowledge points at game end, and may ascend 1 space at the ascension track after performing a study action. How do I get more followers on the map? First, you must unlock the ability to have more followers on the map, and then you send them to study on your unoccupied spaces by using the study action. Next action is Journey of Followers, which is this one. Basically, you move your followers on the map. This action allows you to travel with your followers on the map across land tiles and to from sacred sites on the map. So this action allows your followers to journey space by space across the land tiles and to or from sacred sites on the map. A journey action can be split among any number of followers, and followers may only journey across connected land edges and cannot journey diagonally. Followers cannot journey across water edges until they have unlocked the ability to do so. A tile of sacred site is with a follower on it is considered occupied. Followers may journey across spaces occupied by another follower, but they have to enter journey on an unoccupied space unless the ability to do so has been unlocked. And each sacred site is an additional space on the mountain tile. Followers may journey up and down on sacred tiles like staircase, counting each step in the stack as a space. The mountain tile is also a space. So let's say if I haven't unlocked anything, I can only move 1. So I can either go here, 1, or here, 1, or here at the base of the tile. Of course, I cannot go to water. And if I had, let's say, this tile pointing out like that, which has water, I cannot cross because there's water. If I have unlocked an ability and I can move more than 1, let's say I have unlocked the ability and I can move up to 3, I can split it either between several followers of mine, or I can use it all in one. So I can say 1, 2, 3, so that I can potentially build, let's say with another action, a sacred tile, having a second action, and then send it there to study while building it. A hint: you can end your journey on the sacred site of another player, blocking them from sending followers to study there. And let's see again the action improvements. These are very simple for journey. Ability 1, journey 1 follower on the space. Ability 2, journey followers up to 2 spaces total. Journey followers up to 3 spaces total. Ability 4, may cross water edges during and on any journey action. Ability 5, may end up a journey space on another space occupied by another follower. And ability 6, journey followers up to 5 spaces a total. Last action is build one sacred site, which is this one over here. The build action allows you to build one sacred site, and each sacred site you build it's built on its own space where you have followers that they can study, and it's your primary source of wisdom and knowledge through the game. Sacred sites act as doorway when your followers are needed to enter or exit the map. Anytime you have a follower on one of your sacred sites, that follower is studying, no matter how it got there. There are 3 types of sacred sites: monolith, which is this one, shrines, which is this one, and temples, which is this one. Sacred sites must be built on a mountain tiles, and each mountain tile can hold exactly one monolith, one shrine, and one temple. And it's important that each player is allowed to build only one sacred site on each mountain. That means I'm not allowed to do that and then put this on top and then put that on top, okay? So only one of my color needs to be there, either the base one, the middle one, or the top one. Sacred sites must be built in sequence. First you build the monolith, then the shrine, probably of another player, and then the temple. You must have a follower on the mountain tile or on another player's sacred site of that mountain to build a sacred site. When building sacred site, place a new sacred site on the mountain. So let's say first I take with this one, I can take a move action. So I move 1, 2, let's say I have unlocked to move up to 2. And as a second action, I take the action to build a sacred site. I can do building sacred sites only on mountain tiles, so I cannot build them on land tiles. Okay, so I place my new sacred site on the mountain tile. So it's the first one, so it's a monolith, so I place it here. I move my follower on top on the mountain up to the sacred site, and I place them so that they study there. You claim the ascent reward by sending your demigod standee 2 spaces up the ascension track, and if you end on a space occupied by another player, continue ascending to the next available space. We'll see how this works. But keep in mind that when I build monolith, I send 2 and I take 1 wisdom. If I build a shrine, I send 2 and I take 2 wisdom. And if I build a temple, I send 2 and gain 3 wisdom, which is the most you can get from sacred sites. Building while another player studies. For example, let me show you also as another case. Let's say, for the benefit of the example, again, I have actions to perform and I can first move. So let's say I'm here. So I move 1, then I move 2, then I move 3, like a step on stairways, and then I take any action to build a sacred site, which I do, and then I place my follower studying. Building while another player studies. It's important that you gain 1 wisdom each time another player builds a sacred site on a mountain where you have a follower studying. In this case, the green player would gain 1 wisdom because I built a sacred site while they were studying. Sacred site improvements. If you move those caps up, you gain at the end 2, 3, 5, 6, up to 7 victory points for each of the different types of sacred sites if you moved the respective caps up on that playmat. Last but not least, the ascension track. As I said, we start with our markers here on the bottom, and when we gain ascension points, we start picking up ascension points like that. When you finish your turn on top of another player, then you move to the next one further up. So if I gain 2 ascension points, the blue one, I'll take 1 plus 1, 2, and then I will finish here for free. So you can piggyback a lot by doing clever ascension when the timing is correct. But keep in mind that I don't count the previous one. So if I'm here and I gain 1, if I'm here and I'm gaining 2 ascensions, I will count, let's say I'm here, and I gain 2 ascension. So I will count this one, 1, 2, and then I will fall here. Okay, so I'm not going to skip both of them and then count 1, 2. So this is how ascension works. Important, you count each space on the track when ascending, including space occupied by other demigods. Red spaces and hot spots. These red spaces on the ascension track are marked with a 2+2 mountain label, +2 volcano label. Each red space will trigger once per game. The first time a demigod lands or passes a red space, you add a level 2 volcano on the tiles sitting over the hotspot areas of the map and on any hotspot island tiles. If a volcano is already present, you increase the level by 2 before adding a new volcano. If a hotspot island tile is sitting over a hotspot on the map, they count as a single hotspot and only receive 1 level 2 volcano. These red spaces are a handy indication of where you are in the game. Once a player passes the number 10 space, that means that the end of the game is going to follow very, very closely. Now, last but not least, the game end. You play, and the play continues until a demigod ascends to the topmost of the ascension track. If you're playing this side, when someone reaches all the way up, that indicates the end of the game. All players who have not yet played their current round take their current round, and then we finish playing. A word about horizon lines. Remember, we have these horizon lines, 1, 2, 3. The area along the left edge of the player mat tracks a horizon. At the start of the game, 1 follower is placed below each of the horizon line arrows covering the knowledge points symbols. A horizon is unlocked when all the wisdom caps of the ability columns, the first 5 columns of your player mat, rise to or above the indicated horizon line. Okay, so when they come here, I'm going to unlock my 1 additional follower. once unlocked, the follower below the horizon line is released and becomes active. You may choose immediately to assign a follower to any of unoccupied sacred sites to study, either your mat or your sacred sites, or assign the follower on an empty action space and take that action immediately. Of course, you also unlock victory points at the end if you have unlocked those spaces. Final scoring. Each player adds up the knowledge points from, first of all, how far they progressed on the ascension track. So this player has already 15 points, for example. The abilities, the highest unlocked KP from each column: shift, move, erupt, and study. So let's say this player is like that. They will also gain 3 victory points from that one, 3 from that one, and let's say that was here as well, and 7 from that one. You also gain points, multiply the number of your followers on your sacred sites and in the study area of your play mat by the number shown below the highest unlocked horizon line. If no horizon line is unlocked, followers in study do not score. So let's say I'm here and have unlocked also here. I'm going to gain 2 victory points for each of my followers at study location, either on my playmat or sacred sites, or on the study space. Sorry, not for the study space, only for your study area and your playmat, and study spaces on your sacred sites. From those two, they need to be studying to gain victory points. Last, you gain points from sacred sites. You multiply the number of monoliths built, the number of shrines built, and the number of temples built by how far you progressed on those victory points. So here, let's say I have built 2 monoliths. I'm going to gain, and I'm here, I'm going to gain 2 victory points for each of the 2 built. If I build 1 shrine, I'm going to get 5 points, and if I build even if I build all of them, because I haven't progressed this one, I'm going to get 0 victory points, even if I build all 3 of my temples, let's say, for example. The player with the greatest knowledge wins the game, and to be celebrated, revered, and honored for generations throughout the time as the most beloved and generous giver of wisdom and knowledge. In case of a tie, the tied player who ascended highest, among those who tied, the player who ascended highest on the ascension mountain wins the game. And this is everything you need to know on how to play Oros. So there you have it. This is Oros, the latest board game from Lucky Duck Games. I have to admit that I was very pleasantly surprised from this one. I always tend to love what Lucky Duck is putting out. They have both, I would say, the magic touch for games looking very nice and beautiful, but also for games that play extremely well with a lot of options, a lot of things to discover, and very, very nicely blended mechanics usually. So I was very much impressed to see how this game plays in practice, because it gives you a very dynamic setting. So the main board is really, really dynamic. It changes all the time, but you can do so many things to manipulate it, to mold it in a way so that you can take advantage of it and score a lot of victory points, and this is really nice. It also gives you so many directions for you to, let's say, upgrade yourself, to have better version of actions by progressing up with the wisdom caps on the different columns. And this is really nice because you can try moving further away, or being able to score more victory points for the, you know, the sacred sites, shrines, monoliths, and temples that you put out on the board, and so on. And if you combine cleverly a couple of those things, then you can make nice combos and get a lot of victory points and a lot of knowledge points, as they're called, outside of the deal. I've heard some rumors, and I have to admit these are completely wrong in my opinion, but that's my personal taste, that you have to be careful not to be squeezed in a corner, because then you'll be left with not many options. I totally disagree on that, because the game always offers opportunities and ways for everybody to exploit the dynamic setting. You can always move tiles, erupt volcanoes, and pour land into areas where no land is, etc. So it's just a matter of, I think, you doing it better than the rest if you're playing a competitive game. I love tile placement games, I love worker placement games, I love dynamic puzzle elements in board game design, and this game really shines in all of these directions. It offers all of them in, I would say, a very balanced ratio. I'm trying to think of things that I don't like about the game, and I really find nothing. So very much enjoyed the game. I highly recommend it. Those of you who like tile placement and moving tiles and manipulating tiles, and also being different from each other, because how you work up on those ladders and how you progress on the special abilities makes you or the next person next to you completely different in capabilities from one another, and this is a fantastic setting to explore on each session. It feels different from each session to the next because there are so many things to do and try. But altogether it's a very nice package, extremely nice quality, fantastic gameplay, really enjoyable also as a solo. I'm striking this because a lot of solo modes are just there to be there. This one is phenomenal. It works absolutely amazing as a solo, and I really recommend it. It also works excellent as a two-player. Don't think that it's chaotic because the setting is always changing from all players. It really does, but on the same side you have so many options and so many things for you to do, just of making it better than the rest and gaining more victory points. So very much recommending it. This is a fantastic game, lots of fun, thinky but easy and deep, lots of strategies to be exploited, explored and tried on this framework that they have designed. So very much recommending it, and this is Oros from Lucky Duck Games.